Hi. Welcome, Setam Patak. Happy Friday. I am Sarah of Expat, Croatia, and this is 5-Question Friday. Every Friday at 5 o'clock Croatia time, I answer 5 questions about Croatia from people who have sent them in on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, expatinCroatia.com, YouTube, email, our consulting sessions, and people who put them on a billboard on the Magistrala. So I am in Omiš today. I am at my favorite beach in Croatia, which is called Brzet. So it's just past kind of like the city center of Omiš. I love coming down here. I've been coming down here for about 2 years. I think it is the most perfect beach in existence because, look, I like a lot of beaches in Croatia, but if I'm picking like a good all-around beach, this is the beach I want to be at, and I'm going to tell you all the reasons why. So, one, you can park on the beach for free in the shade. There are multiple cafe bars here. The one I like is Baywatch. They have good coffee, and they have really great limonada, which to me, if you don't have good coffee and a good limonada, I don't want to go there. Also, there's a great restaurant, which we tried out today, with a fabulous lunch that's right nearby. Also, it never gets very busy. You know, there's a lot of beaches in Croatia where you're packed in like sardines, and it's not like that here. I never feel like I'm crowded. No one's ever next to me. You know, I can really kind of spread out and have my own peace. And in addition to that, it's so gorgeous because you have the whole mountain range, because this is where the mountain range comes down to the sea, like meets the sea, which is so beautiful. The water is clean. You have the view of Brela across. You have the view of the islands going down the coast. What else? It has the small pebbles, so it's not uncomfortable to lay on the beach. I love everything about it. So we've told you, I don't know, maybe a month ago that Expat in Croatia now is doing 4-day work weeks for the summer. This is the first Friday where I've actually taken the day off. So I came down to the beach with a friend of mine who's here behind the scenes sunning herself. But yeah, I love it down here. So I'm really excited that I finally get to do a 5-Question Friday from here. And I've seen some people join, so I want to say hi. Hey, Kathy, I'm so glad you're here. Hello. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. So a few things I want to get out of the way. Oh, you need to know the name of this beach. It's called Brzet, so Brzet. So when you're driving south from Split, you go through the city center, and then it's maybe 1 minute, and there's a sign on the right where you kind of diverge off of the Magistrala, and then you drive down to Brzet. And it's a very, very long beach. Like at this point, this isn't the spot I usually pick to sit. I sit a bit farther up, but I wanted to find a little bit of a quieter place where I wasn't around so many people so I could do this. But it's very long, so if you can see back behind me, the further it goes, the wilder it gets. And I will take you off the thing and show you the whole situation a little bit later, but there's a bit of a breeze. And I noticed that I had to like bury the tripod in rocks to get it stable. So rather than having to like jerk around with it during the thing, I'm going to do it at the end. No, it's Brzet with a Z, as in Z. So Brzet. That's the name of the beach. So I have so many things to talk to you about today. So first, I want to give you a big heartfelt apology, because I have had such a struggle for the last 3 years trying to get the sound sorted out for 5-Question Friday. And I don't know why it's been such a struggle for me. I really, really don't. Like, I've even consulted with other people. I bought like 3 or 4 mics and none of them worked. It felt like everything was working against me to try and make the sound okay. And then last week we had a struggle with the sound because it kept flipping around in my dress, and when it was bumping up against my chest, it wasn't working very well. And I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. I'm really doing everything I can, and I believe in my heart, like I want to say, guys, everything's sorted out now. We're never going to have any more problems, but I don't know that. What I do know is that I now understand at least the problems I've been having lately with the sound, and I believe I have all of those resolved. I also got new mics today. See, black, not white. And I've got this nice little fuzzy thing on here that I hope is helping. So I believe that it's going to be resolved, but I just want you to know I'm not oblivious to this problem that I've had with the sound, and I hope that now it's sorted out. But I never want you to hesitate to tell me if the sound is off, because I can't do anything if I don't know about it. That's the point. If I don't know about it, because I can hear myself just fine. But if you have a problem, I really want you to raise the flag immediately so that I can do something about it. So I'm really glad to hear that the sound is great today. Yay! This is the first time I'm using this mic. I got it in the mail yesterday, so I'm stoked. Okay, so let's dive into it. Let me tell you about the last week. So last week I was in Zagreb, and I told you how on Saturday I was going to be filming a cooking show episode with a friend of mine, Tyler. Tyler's family is Croatian. He lives in Zagreb, and he started this YouTube channel called Chef Tyler's Croatian Kitchen. And so he does different Croatian recipes. And so I was like, Tyler, I'm going to be in Zagreb. Can I do an episode with you? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. So we did that on Saturday, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun. I loved it so much, and I really hope that I get an opportunity to do it with him again. He told me that episode is going to come out in August. So as soon as it does, I'm going to post it on stories, and I'll definitely tell you here on 5 Question Friday. But if you are on YouTube right now, I've put a link to his YouTube channel down in the description. But if you would like to, if you're on IG, then or Facebook, you can get that directly from us. So just send us a message or drop a comment, and we will get you a link to his YouTube channel. But it's also called Chef Tyler's Croatian Kitchen. You can also find it that way. I also want to give a shout out to a fan that I met last week. So I also told you last week that I was going to my friend's mom's 70th birthday. And at that birthday party, I met a fan, Irena. So I want to give a big shout out to her. It was such a treat to meet you. Yay. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that a lot. So I met her and her husband, Matt. And we had a really nice chat. And so that was really fun. So I want to make a shift to a post that we put out this week. We've been getting lots of questions about Croatia re-implementing the military draft. So I'm not going to answer questions on 5 Question Friday about it, and this is why. Because it's very new. We do have a lot of information about it, and it's all in the post that we published this week. So there are a lot of open questions. And so as those questions get answered, I am going to continue to talk about it on 5 Question Friday. But this exact moment, since it's so fresh and we just put a post about it, I really would say, please just read the post, because that's where all the information that exists in the universe is right now. The biggest open question that I already mentioned last week is we don't know how Croatians living abroad, if they're going to be impacted by this mandatory military or civil service. We are working in the background to try and get an answer to that question for you, and we will let you know as soon as we have that. So if you are on YouTube, the link to our post about the military service is down in the description. If you're on IG, send us a DM, and Cam will get that over to you, okay? It's also at the link in our profile, because it's a current post that we put out this week. It was in our newsletter. The other thing I would say aside from that is if you're just afraid you're going to miss those questions related to military service, those different updates, I would definitely recommend signing up for our Tuesday newsletter, because as we get updates, we are going to be sharing them in the newsletter. We only email you once a week. You can find a link to subscribe to that if you're on YouTube down in the description, or on Instagram up in the link in our profile, okay? All right. So what else is going on? I am working on 2 speeches right now, which I love doing speeches, and I have not done a speech since 2022. So in 2022, I did 3 speeches, which was very intense for me. I'm very nervous speaking in front of people. Even people I know, I get uncomfortable if it's like a large group of people. Once a year, we have a team building with our lawyer network. And even though I know all these people, even then I get nervous. So I take speeches very seriously. I love writing. Writing is one of my favorite things to do. And so a speech is pretty much me getting to read my writing out loud. And I love doing that because I have a style that to me just feels like poetry, and it brings me so much joy. So I didn't get to do any speeches last year. And this year I have 2 opportunities, which I'm really excited about. Although one opportunity, I don't know if it's going to materialize or not, but this speech is just pouring out of me. It's been pouring out of me for about 6 weeks. Actually, if I'm being honest, it's been pouring out of me for about a year. But it really sometimes I just wake up one morning and all of a sudden I have an idea and it just comes out of my brain through my fingers and I have to write it down immediately, and it just comes and comes and comes and comes and comes. And that's just how my creativity is. And so I get very excited when I have those creative moments, and I did with this one speech. And so I don't know if I'll be able to actually say it in front of other people this year, but I'm going to write it regardless. I don't need an audience to write a speech, because just the act of writing it is joy to me. And that one is specifically for Croatian diaspora about why they should come back to Croatia, why they should consider coming to Croatia. And this is directed at those who left Croatia years ago, and this is also directed at diaspora who've never lived in Croatia before. So I'll keep you posted as I continue to work on that. And then the other speech I'm working on, I will get to say out loud in front of people. And this is going to be at an AI conference called Raise in Dubrovnik on November 9th. And it's Brela. It's €50 to get into that conference. Yes. So my friend who's back behind here, I didn't ask if it was okay if I said her name. I'm sorry. But she is the coordinator of this conference in Dubrovnik in November, and it's all about AI. And so I'm doing a speech about when you should not use AI. And I'm really pleased about that, because when she came to me and she said, Sarah, I would like you to do something for this conference, I was like, I don't know that I'm a good fit, because I don't believe that AI is the savior to everything. I don't feel like it's the solution to everything. And I'm a bit more cynical about it. And this is why. And I kind of outlined why. And she said, well, that's perfect, because we need to have someone who's anti-AI at this conference. And just to give you a little bit of background on what I'm going to be writing about, so it doesn't sound, I don't know, like I'm the old get off my lawn kind of person and I'm just anti-progression, because I'm not. That's not what it is. It's just, okay, I'll give you some examples of kind of where I'm going with this whole thing. So here at Expat in Croatia, what is most important to us is 2 things: facts and human connection. That is our shtick. Everything comes down to facts and human connection, okay? So we do not use robots to talk to you. We don't use robots to schedule appointments with us. It is a real human that is communicating with you, whether it be on social media or on email. It is always a real human. And that's really important to us, because we want you to know that there is a real human behind this company. We want you to know that you are being heard, that you are being empathized with. Like, for example, I've had a number of consulting calls where people are crying, for a variety of reasons. Maybe it's just their life circumstances. Maybe it's because their Croatian parent has died and they have to bring them back home to Croatia to be buried. I mean, there's just so many situations. It's like a robot is not going to empathize with you in those situations, not in the slightest. And I believe that the further we go down this AI path, the more people are going to cling to real human connection. So that is kind of the theme of what I'm writing this other speech about. So if you are around in November in Croatia, I hope I will see you in Dubrovnik for the Raise conference, and I will share more information with you about that conference as it comes out. And actually, there's something I'm really excited to share with you when I don't know when I can share it with you, But what they're doing as part of the AI conference is they made an AI generated like picture of all of the speakers, and I love mine. I love it. I can share it? Okay, all right. Then maybe I can share it on stories with you. It's pretty cool. I mean, she gave me 4 to choose from, and then I didn't feel like 3 of them just didn't feel like me, but one of them does. And it's so, so cool. So, yeah, personal connection. Exactly, exactly. And, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like that's the theme of Croatia is personal connection. Why do you think we go on coffees for 4 hours? Like, everything is about personal connection in Croatia, like human to human connection. And I love that about Croatia. Okay, what else have I got for you today? Oh, okay, I guess that's all the updates. Oh, all right, I have one more thing to share with you. I have found the handyman of my dreams. Okay, in reality, I did not find the handyman of my dreams. My colleague Tamara found the handyman of my dreams for me, and I am so lucky because handymans are really hard to find in Croatia. They're really, really hard to find. And this guy is like, he does everything. So let me tell you the story. So I bought my apartment 3 years ago, okay? And I have a ground floor apartment, which I love having a ground floor apartment. And I have 2 private entrances that the seller put in illegally. I'm not going to go into that because that is a different story. But on one side of my apartment, there's a terrace. On the other side of the apartment, there's a little garden. And the garden and the terrace are not technically part of my plot. They are common space for the building. But when you have a ground floor apartment and you have like a little garden out front, it's kind of assumed that it's yours. You're the one who takes care of it. You get to do with it what you want, okay? So the seller had a fence up, not with a gate, but like a fence up. And then there was a little bit of a garden there. Now, I am not a gardener. I do not have that skill set. It's only been the last year or so that I figured out which houseplants I can have that I'm not going to murder, okay? And I travel a lot, so I can't water. I didn't know what to do. And I was in a bit of a struggle with my building, represented by the building manager, because I wasn't keeping up the garden. People were constantly throwing trash in it. The weeds were getting overgrown, and the olive tree was out of hand. And it came to a point where the building manager told me, well, someone has reported you to Općina. Although I don't know if that's actually true. I've seen no proof that someone has reported me to Općina. Općina is the municipality. But then it also got said to me, well, Sarah, if you don't take care of this, we're going to have to take the fence down, and then it will be up to the city to maintain that area. And I didn't want that either, because once the fence gets taken down, the fence doesn't go back up. You know what I mean? And I would really like to be able to do things with the terrace, and, you know, I'd trim the grass and then I'd leave for 2 months or 2 weeks, and then the grass would be up to here again, you know? So I finally, chatted with Tamara. I was like, look, I need to get a gardener. I need someone to come in here and just deal with it, So that took a little bit of time, but she finally found somebody. And he's not a gardener. He just loves to garden. He's one of those Dalmatians who just works when he needs to work. He doesn't have a regular job. He just does like 60 different things, but he only does them when he wants to do them. And for the most part, he just enjoys his life. And I'm just like, I'm in awe of you. I'm in awe. So he comes over a couple of weeks ago, and I'm showing him everything, and I'm telling him what I need to do, and how, like, look, I just want my building off my back. Because I cannot deal with this. So he's like, all right, I'm going to come tomorrow morning. And I'm like, great. He actually showed up in the morning. He showed up in the morning, and within 2 hours, he had cleaned everything out. I mean, I'm so regretful that I did not take a before picture because it is such a huge difference between what it looks like that looked like then and what it looks like now. I mean, in 2 hours, he just did everything. He trimmed the lemon tree. He trimmed the lavender bush. He trimmed the olive tree. I mean, the olive tree now looks like it's a bad haircut, but there's a very specific way to trim olive trees. And everything was cleaned out. He even found a nest of a hedgehog, which a hedgehog in Croatian is called a jej, which I love that word, jej. It's very pleasurable to say for me. So there's a little jej that's that in the back corner of my garden. So it's all taken care of. And then when he was leaving, he was like, Sarah, so like, I do like all kinds of things. And I was like, what kind of things do you do? He was like, well, I'm an electrician and I'm a mechanic and I can hang things for you and I can paint. And he's like, and if I don't know how to do something, I will find out. I was like, you are the holy grail of handymans. Do you understand that? So I feel so grateful that Tamara introduced me to this wonderful, wonderful man because he is going to change my life. Speaking as a single woman who travels a lot and does not really want to go on YouTube to figure out how to change a pipe, I am very glad that this human exists. Okay, so if you find a handyman that you like, hold on to them with everything you've got. All right, we're going to dig into the questions now. Thank you so much for being here. If you're just joining us, I'm so glad that you're here with me on this beautiful sunny Friday. I'm Sarah of Expat in Croatia, and this is 5 Question Friday. I'm going to answer 5 questions about Croatia, and I am on Brzet Beach, which is in Omiš in Dalmatia. It is a beautiful, beautiful day here today. Look at that. I mean, it could be a lot worse. And there's this beautiful breeze coming off the sea right now. It's just gorgeous. So a little bit later, I am going to take the phone up and I'm going to show you everything that I see right now, but I'm going to wait a little while to do that because the tripod is embedded in rock so that it doesn't fall over because of the wind. All right, shall we get started? Excellent. So this first question is from an anonymous person here on Instagram. Quick question. Are there people bathing? Well, there's people swimming, for sure. There's people all around me swimming. Oh, we're already getting questions. What is the first step as a Croatian citizen living abroad if I'm considering moving back as a self-employed person? The first step? Well, you definitely want to figure out where you're going to live. You definitely want to figure out what you're going to do here. So if you're self-employed, then you would need to open up a business here and you need to decide if you want to have an Obert or if you want to have like an LLC. So I would look into where you're going to live and how you're going to set up your business. Because if that's your source of income, it depends on how much time you can give yourself to take a break from that to get settled here. We do have a guide on how to come back if you're a Croatian diaspora. It doesn't matter whether you've lived here or not or you've never lived here ever, but we do have a guide specifically for people like you that goes down a hit list of the different things that you should consider. Because when you get here, the first thing you're going to need to do is register an address. And that should be like your long-term address, whether you own the house or whether you're staying with family or whether you're renting. And then you need to get an osobna iskaznica, which is a national ID card. That's going to be the first thing you do once you get here. And then after that, sign up for health insurance. So those are the biggest things that I would take into consideration for sure. And if you would like that guide, send us a DM and we'll send it over to you, okay? All right, so back to this person's question. Which car rental companies are best for customer service in Croatia? So we actually took a poll on stories to see what you guys thought. And everybody resoundingly voted for Sixt, S-I-X-T. Here in Croatia. I've used them once. I don't remember anything about it. The one that I have always liked, The one that I have always liked is called Avant, A-V-A-N-T. Now, I think the reason that I like Avant is because they have a location that's very convenient to me here in Split. And because I was renting cars often there for a little while, I got to know the people at Avant, and they were really sweet and kind. And they said, Sarah, whenever you need a rental car, just send us a text message, through WhatsApp, and we'll see what the lowest price is at that time for you. So they were just always very chill and flexible. And so it wasn't really about the company per se. It was about the people who actually worked there. And, you know, I've rented cars from them for a long time, and the workers there were consistent over the course of 3 or 4 years. I think they actually still work there, because I was getting my car repaired last year and they were still there. So to me, that says something. If workers are there for multiple years, usually that's because they like working there. So 6th is what everyone on Instagram likes, and I personally like Avant. But I do have a few pieces of advice when you're renting a car in Croatia. So first of all, always take the full insurance from the rental car company, not from a third party. This is why. If you take it from a third party, then you're going to have, if anything happens, you are going to have to call the police and have them come out and make a police report. And that could take hours. You're going to be sitting around just waiting for them to show up. And that is a pain in the butt. But if you take the full insurance, which I know is more expensive, but it's absolutely worth the convenience, because you just never know. You can do all the right things when you're driving, and somebody will still run into you, or someone still will scrape your car when you're in a parking lot. You just never know what's going to happen. And when you get the full insurance, they don't even inspect the car. They don't bother, because everything's covered already. I'll give you a perfect example of this. Last year, I rented a car because my car was being repaired. And I drove to Sarajevo. And I got to Sarajevo, and I parked in the parking lot of my friend's building, and I did not touch the car for 3 days. I came out to the car on Sunday to drive back to Split, and I saw that someone had scraped the entire side of the car back to front. This was a brand new Audi. And I got to Split, and I was like, I don't know what happened, but it had nothing to do with me. It wouldn't matter, even if I had done it. Even if I had driven it off a cliff, it still wouldn't have mattered, because I had the full insurance. So always get the full insurance, okay? And then the other thing I want to recommend is, oh gosh, what did I just do? The other thing I want to recommend is the site that I use to find rental cars. It's called VIPcars.com. It's a UK company, I want to say, but it's kind of like an aggregator, like a Kayak or a Skyscanner, that's going to show you all the available cars in the area, so that way you can compare and contrast the different kind of models and the costs and everything. So that way you can really get a good sense of who has the best deal. Now, if you're going to use this site, make sure that you say you live in Croatia. On the very first page, they're going to ask your age and where you live. Always say that you live in Croatia, even if you don't live in Croatia, because that's how you get the lowest price. Okay? It's not something they check at the rental car company. Also, try and rent a manual car instead of an automatic whenever possible, because the cost of a manual will not only, it could be half, it could be a third, it could be a quarter of what the cost of an automatic is. Look, I'm an American. I'm also a girl. So my dad taught my brother how to drive a manual. I did not get taught how to drive a manual. And when I went to driving school, they always teach you how to drive an automatic only when you're in the States. So I don't know how to drive a stick. So whenever I rent a car, I only get automatics, and it's just so much more expensive. So that's my advice. If you would like the link to VIP Cars, send us a DM. We have it. Or if you are YouTubers, it's down below in the caption. I feel like we've gotten some comments, so let me just scroll up to see if I've missed anything. Do you have contact to help people get their citizenship through heritage? Absolutely we do. So we have a vetted network of Croatian immigration lawyers, most of which specialize in citizenship, in addition to other specialties, and they can help you prepare your entire application, including getting the birth certificates that you need from Croatia for your Croatian ancestor. And included in that, it's a flat fee. So that includes the application process, as long as after you submit your application, they're with you for 1-2 years, however long it takes for the government to give you a decision. They're with you that entire time. It's all included. And on top of that, you get a expat in Croatia caseworker who is with you the entire time, who follows up with you periodically to make sure that you're getting absolutely everything that you need. So we don't just give you a lawyer phone number and then just throw you out into the ether. We are there with you along the journey. We're invested in your success. And, you know, I just got 2 emails this week from people who got their citizenship through us. I love that. People are always emailing me, Sarah, we finally got our citizenship. Thank you so much for all of the help. Like, it couldn't have done without you. And that's just so reaffirming, because I'm not in the exact same situation. I don't have Croatian heritage. So being a Croatian who's getting their Croatian citizenship, it's hard for me to imagine what that feeling would be like. But I can imagine what it would be like when I get citizenship, and I will cry for a week. That will pull on my heartstrings so hard. I want it so badly. So the joy that these people feel when they're getting citizenship, and the fact that we got to be along with them on that journey is it's just priceless to me. It really is priceless to me. So yes, if you would like help, send us a DM and we can help you. Just say, hey, I want citizenship. What can you do for me? And Cam will be there on the other end, and she will give you everything. Okay. Thank you so much for asking. Let me see if I missed anything else. Okay, I already answered that question. Great. Let me scroll back down. Ooh, we got some more stuff. Can Crow, hey Daryl, what's up? I was at a mall in Zagreb, underground parking, and saw a lady back into a car and heard the crunch and proceeded to drive away. I stood in front of her car, took video of her plane. Svaka chest. It takes a village. It takes a village, man. Well done. Okay, Clean Adriatic. That's their bread and butter. Go to Expat Croatia website and sign up for a consult to their citizenship. Thank you, Clean Adriatic. Yes, it absolutely is. I would say that most of what we do these days is helping reunite Croatians with Croatia, for sure. Okay. Yeah, Anna. Yeah, absolutely. Congrats to those people who got citizenship, for sure. I'm with you there. You know, something that's interesting that I've heard is that when you're abroad and you're applying through a consulate, you're required to go and do the oath at the consulate. But when people are getting granted citizenship in Croatia, it's only half the time they're having them do the oath. And I'm like, you better make me do the oath. I'm doing the oath. I've been practicing the oath for 2 years. I'm going to say the oath. Okay. Okay, our next question comes from Terry here on Instagram. I see the notation that swimming is no longer allowed under the waterfalls in Krka National Park, but is swimming permitted anywhere in the rivers within the park? So Krka National Park is a lovely, lovely national park. It's one of the 2 most famous here in Croatia. It is near Šibenik, and it's known for its waterfalls. And they did ban swimming under the waterfalls, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, maybe. So swimming is allowed at designated locations at Roški Slap, Stinice, and Piske from June 1st to September 30th with personal responsibility and depending on the weather conditions and river water level. Swimming outside the marked places and on those dates is not allowed. Okay? They also asked, am I allowed to jump from the waterfalls and swim along the wooden bridges? No. Swimming outside the designated areas is not allowed, and jumping from waterfalls or bridges is also not allowed. So it just got to be too many people, you know, and you have to think about the fact that, you know, most people have on lotion, cologne, deodorant, sunscreen. They're just drenched in chemicals, okay? So swimming in these places that are protected, these national parks, there's just only so much that these ecosystems can take when all these chemicals are washing off your body. So that's a lot of it, you know. I talked a few episodes ago back in May when I went to the source of the Cetina River, and actually my friend who's here with me today, we got into a bit of a scuffle with some British tourists because it said no swimming. But they didn't agree with that, so they didn't want to follow those rules. And I'm like, this is the source of drinking water. And they didn't quite understand. It's like, but you're covered in lotion and deodorant and cologne and sunscreen, and that stuff should not be put in the source of a spring. You know what I mean? Okay. So that being said, we have 2 things we can send you. We have an FAQ from National Park Krka where it actually answers these questions about swimming in the park. We also have our own guide on how to visit National Park Krka. everything you could possibly need to know about visiting the national park. So if you would like either of those links, YouTube people down below in the description, Instagram people, just send us a DM. Okay, next question comes from Patricia here on the 5 Question Friday forum. If you are a third country citizen holding temporary residence that is valid for 2 years, do you still need a working permit? The banks are asking for this document, but the police is saying I don't need it. Okay, so first, your right to work is dependent on the basis for your temporary residence, okay? Having temporary residence does not necessarily mean that you have the right to work. I've heard that a lot. I actually heard it yesterday at my FPOA meeting, but that's not true. Your temporary residence has to allow you to work, and there are 2 scenarios in which you would have the right to work based on temporary residence. One is if you have work through a specific company. Okay, that could be blue card, that could be standard work contract, that could be you own a company, okay? Those are tied to the company that you work for. But then you have another scenario where you have work, you're allowed to work usually through marriage to a Croatian citizen, married to an EU citizen, okay? In that case, you can freely work for anybody. In fact, it says on your permit, did I write this down? I feel like I wrote this down. Yes. If on your permit it says, rad bez dozvole za boravak I rad, that literally means work without a permit for stay and work, which means you can work without having to have a work permit, okay? So, let's go back to this original question that Patricia asked. She said, if you are a third country citizen holding temporary residence valid for 2 years, that is a context clue to me. If you have temporary residence for 2 years, there's only 2 scenarios it could be, and one is very easily eliminated. There are only 2 bases where you could have residence for 2 years. One is a blue card, which again is tied to a specific employer. We know that's not the case with her because she has not mentioned that, so we're eliminating that. The other case is if you're married to a Croatian citizen. So I believe that she is married to a Croatian citizen, okay? So she doesn't need a work permit because my guess is on her national ID card, it actually says, Rad bez dozvole za boravak I rad. Work without a permit for stay and work. So she is saying that the bank is asking for a document that shows that she has a work permit. And the police are saying she doesn't need that. Of course she doesn't need that because her ID says she can work without the need to work. So the bank doesn't need an additional document. They just need to read her national ID card that says it on there. Now, Patricia, if you are out there today and what I'm saying does not make sense and your ID does not actually say that, please reach out to us because all the context clues of your question tell me that that's what your ID says. I would be very surprised if it doesn't, okay? So, yeah, go back to the bank, show them your ID and say, see, work. I can work. Although I don't know what that has to do with opening up a bank account, but maybe it's because they've been very stringent about opening up bank accounts in the last couple of years and they want you to have a valid purpose, but I don't see what a work permit has to do with that, quite frankly. Okay, we do have a guide on who has the right to work in Croatia, and we go over every single possible scenario. So if you would like that, YouTube people, it's down below, and everybody else, just send us a DM, all right? So this brings us, hi. This brings us to our lawyer tip of the week. Da 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 da! Yay! All right, so foreigners are often scared about paying a bill late in Croatia since they are not familiar with the system and are unsure of the consequences. It is worth knowing that nobody pays anything on time in Croatia. If you are only 2 or 3 months late with a payment, you'll only accrue a small amount of interest. However, after a certain point, like 5+ months, you are at risk of the tax office taking all of the money in your bank account and freezing it until such time you finish paying the balance. They have froze my bank account twice. So I'm going to share with you the 2 times that the tax office froze my bank account. So I would like to remind you that I did not always know everything about Croatia and its bureaucracy. At one time, I knew nothing, okay? And I just had to kind of figure things out as I went along. So the first time, I guess it was, I'd already been living here for about 4 years. I think it was in 2015 or 2016 when they froze my bank account. So this is what happened. When I first moved here, I was married and I signed up for health. We both signed up for health insurance, but I never paid the premium, okay? Because I was like, I'm not going to use this. I have travel insurance. I'll just go to a private clinic. Like, I don't need this, so I'm not going to pay it. And I didn't know what the consequences of not paying it was. I found out later. So after a few years, we parted, he left, and then it was like, okay, it's time for me to get to actually start paying for the state health insurance. I think it was because maybe I had to reapply for residence and I needed to have it. So I went to HZO and they said, well, you have to pay everything you have owed since you registered 4 or 5 years ago, which was like 23,000 kuna, I think. So they wanted me to pay that entire balance before they would reactivate my health care. And I was like, well, shit, that's going to take me a while. But then at some point, I remember I had decided to sign up for a karate class. No, Krav Maga. I was so excited. I was going to go start Krav Maga classes. And I was walking on the way to the Krav Maga class. And I get this notification on my phone that my balance was like 0 on my bank. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And I went in there and saw that the tax office had wiped my bank account clean. And so I had to take the whole day off. And I went to HZO. And then I had to go to a FINA in Town and Split. And then they sent me to the tax office that then sent me to the other FINA, classic Croatian story. And by the end of the day, this whole thing took about 6-7 hours. By the end of the day, I found out that they were not going to give me that money back and that they were not going to unfreeze my bank account until I paid the entire 20-something thousand kuna. And I was like, well, that's distressing. Because it was like 4 years I'd never used the health care, but now I had to pay for that health care that I had not used for 4 years. So that was the first time they froze my bank account. The second time they froze my bank account, this one was more my fault. You know, sometimes, because I think we're all human, right? Sometimes there's just a thing we don't want to do, and we just don't do it. We know there's probably going to be consequences, but we just don't want to do it, so we just shove it under the rug. You know what I mean? That's what happened here. So when I bought my apartment 3 years ago, whenever you buy a property, you have to pay a transfer tax. That's a 3% transfer tax, okay? Mandatory for everybody, okay? So when I bought my apartment, I literally drained every bank account I had. Like, I gave everything I could to buy this apartment. Everything. And I'm very glad I did. I'm very happy with it. It was just, I felt so lucky that I was even in a position to be able to make that happen. But it wasn't like, oh, I'm budgeting for this. I'm planning to buy this apartment. No. It was just like, okay, I don't have a place to live anymore. I need to do something. This is the only apartment I looked at. And I just figured it out. Okay? So having 3% for the transfer tax, like, I didn't even remotely think about that in my life plan. Okay? I was just like, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. So I bought the apartment. That took like 6-7 months. I move in, everything's cool. And I think like 3 months later, they send me this bill, which is a very large bill. Okay. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't really know what to do with this because I don't have this amount in my bank account. And then I was like, okay, could I do a payment plan? And then I started looking into that, and the things that they wanted for a payment plan were just so tedious, and I just was like, that doesn't sound worth it to me. And so then through all that indecision, I just forgot about it. It just got shoved under a pile of papers on my desk, and I just put my head in the sand, essentially. And then one day, guess what happens? I get a notice from my bank. There's nothing in your bank account anymore because the tax office has taken everything you have. I'm like, well, I guess I should have seen that coming. So again, at least this time I didn't waste my time going around town to figure out how to undo it because I knew it wasn't going to be undone. So I found out what the balance was left, and then I went and paid it, and then after that, then I was able to get my bank account unfrozen. But they will take your money. They will. And that is something that I think people really need to know, especially if you're not used to Croatia's system, is that if you have a debt that goes on too long, Croatia will come and they will take the money out of your bank account without notice. But here's the thing. They're supposed to send warnings. They can't just take money out of your bank account without notifying you in advance. Like they usually send multiple warnings. I'm sure they sent them, but I don't know. They just flew by me somehow. What are you going to do? But I will say this. I'm going to do my absolute best not to have them freeze my bank account again. All right. Next question comes from Marina on the 5 Question Friday forum. Relocating to Croatia from New Zealand as Croatian citizens at the end of the year and wondering if the free trade agreement between New Zealand and the European Union can simplify the import of our household goods. No, it has absolutely no bearing or relation to that at all. Free trade is related to commercial endeavors. It's not related to the import of property. So when you're importing stuff to Croatia, like personal goods or vehicles, it's all related to your citizenship, not related to like a free trade agreement. So there are 2 things I want to mention about importing stuff to Croatia. So personal goods aren't taxed anyways, as long as you meet certain criteria. And then also Croatian citizens do get more favorable terms when importing vehicles. Specifically, there are 2 taxes that you most likely will not have to pay. Again, there are certain rules and requirements you have to meet. We have 3 guides that are going to be helpful in this area. So 1 is how to import your personal belongings and vehicles. We have a guide on that. We also have, and this is specific to them in particular, a guide on how New Zealand citizens can live in Croatia. So they're Croatian citizens, so they don't need to know the residence options. But we have some nationality guides, and those are great anyways, because aside from the residence options, it also talks about health insurance, how you can buy property for your nationality, how you can exchange your driver's license, where your closest consulate is. So that's going to be of use. In addition to New Zealand, we also have nationality guides for Americans, Brits, Canadians, Australians, Ukrainians, and South Africans. And then last is we have, and I mentioned this actually earlier in the episode, an article called What Croatia Diaspora Must Know Before Returning to Croatia. So if you would like any of those and you're on IG, send us a DM. If you're on YouTube, it's down in the description, okay? So is this our last question for today? Yes, it is. Okay, so this last one comes from Steven on email. How do I get a all right, I'm going to start that over. How do I get a handicap card for my vehicle? Oh, I was excited about this question because we've never done this before. We had to look into it. So thank you to my colleague Daniela who found out the answer to this. So people with disabilities can get an EU disability parking ticket if you meet certain requirements. The disabled person must have legal residence in Croatia, have established 80% or more of the percentage of physical damage, which results in an inability of the lower extremities of 60%, and be included in the Register of Persons with Disabilities, which is kept by the Croatian Institute of Public Health, which is HZZO, okay? A European parking ticket for persons with disabilities is valid only when the vehicle is operated by a person with disabilities or that person is in the vehicle. So you can submit an application to the Agency for Commercial Activities, Manufacturing Service, and Commercial, DOO. I'm kind of surprised it's a DOO if it's the government. Anyways, we have all their information here. We do have a link to the government's website that explains in English how you can get a disability parking permit. So if you'd like that, YouTubers, it's down below. IG people, just send us a DM and you can get that. So that's it, guys. Oh, hey, Katie. So nice to see you. Agatha, thank you for joining us. Kelly, so glad you're here. Okay, so those are all our questions. If there's anything you would like to see me answer on a future episode, don't hesitate to send us a DM or post a comment once the replay is up. What else? I don't think I have anything else to tell you. Next Friday, am I going to be in Split next Friday? Am I going to be in Split next Friday? Yes, I'll be in Split next Friday. Ooh, well, all right. I'm going to be doing some really cool stuff next weekend, but I'm not going to tell you about that yet. I'll tell you about it next Friday, so you have to tune in for that. Oh, I was going to show them around. You want to see where I am now? All right, let me get my flip-flops out because the stones are super hot. Okay. Is there anything else I'm doing this weekend that's cool? No, I don't think so. Okay. All right, so I'm going to show you where I am now. And as a reminder, I am in Omiš at a beach called Brzet, which is my absolute favorite beach. All around, all-purpose beach. I mean, I really love wild beaches, but if I have like a go-to beach, this is my go-to beach, okay? So here we go, guys. So, if you don't already know, this island here, can you see that? That's Brach. And one thing I really love about Omiš is the mountains up here. So there's a church up there, and up there there's a fortress there on the ridge. I don't know if you can see it very well from here. But yeah, this is my favorite beach. I love it. So if you ever get a chance to come down here, it's really lovely. And here, okay, so insider tip. I'm going to give you an insider tip about being here. Oh, Alex, you're coming to Croatia for 3 weeks? Congratulations. I hope you have a wonderful blast. If you need any tips, don't hesitate to ask. Okay, so I'm going to give you a tip about coming to Brzet because I feel like every time I tell people that I come to Brzet, like locals are like, but the traffic, Sarah, but the traffic. Look, if you get down here early, if you come around 9:30, you have a little tiny bit of congestion around Stelbrech, but that's because of like work traffic, and it clears. You're only there for like 5 minutes, okay? And then it clears up, and then there's no more traffic. There's no more traffic. There used to be traffic when you'd get to Omiš, but now that's not even there anymore because they finally opened up the bridge that connects the tunnel between the mountains, which means it gives you an alternate route behind the mountains. And then, and because all the traffic is going north while you're going south, so you totally bypass all the traffic. Like, when we were coming down here today, like, the traffic was stacked up through Podstrana going north. But we were cool, man. And then, when you leave, when I go back to Split in the afternoon, all the traffic is coming south. And I'm going north, man. So you never have any problems. And if you absolutely wanted to, you could take the back road. So there's a back road that goes like to the entrance to Mosor. So you go through the villages, you go back behind the mountains. So you could kind of avoid that. But I never do that because I want to be next to the sea. I want to be next to the sea. So that is how you can come down to Omiš and enjoy the nice beach and not get into traffic. It's only about a half an hour. It's not that far, truly. So that's what I've been doing. I haven't gone to a beach in Split in like more than 2 years because they're just so packed with tourists. And quite frankly, they're not very clean that much anymore. So I really love coming down here. All right, that's it, guys. I'm now done with my ramble. You've seen where I'm at. We've done our questions. We've talked about everything I could possibly talk about. Did I miss anything? Oh, she's saying we need to go swim now, which I totally agree. I did forget to tell you something. Okay, tonight I am going to a biker party on Kliss. So every year the Kliss Moto Club has a big party in a field behind Kliss, and they have like a concert, and they have like big food stalls set up, and it's just a big giant party, and it's a family affair. People bring their kids out. It's a whole thing. And I got the privilege to go last year. It was really fun, and I got invited to go this year, and there is a band playing. I can't get to the name of it. Wait a minute. No. Okay, you might know the name of this band, and so you can correct it. Zaprashet something Pushenye. Does that?
Zabranjeno pušenje.
Yes! Can you say it a little bit louder for me?
Zabranjeno pušenje.
Can you hear that? That is the band that is playing on Kliss tonight. So if you're in the area, come to the motorcycle club party. I'm going to be there. I'm really stoked about it. So I'll be there. One of our lawyers, Andrea, will be there. So if you've ever worked with Andrea, you'll get to meet her in person. And she'll be like, Sarah, why did you tell everybody that I was going to be here? I hate you. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to do tonight. So I'll definitely post some stories from the motorcycle club party. And that's it, guys. All right, now I'm officially going to go because I got to go and get in the sea again before we go back to Split. So love you so much. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next Friday. Vidimos. Ciao.